Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Tech and Talk. So today we are going to complete the repository implementation that we have started in last episode. So in our last episode we have created iPost repository interface, which was extending iGeneric repository, right? So today let's start building our context class, right? So for that one, let me first create another interface for our context, which will be IDP context, and let's just differentiate this context with because that name will be conflicting for entity framework own interface. So let's change this to iBlog engine DB context, right? And that interface will be extending from iDisposable, and we are going to add couple of IDB set IT entity, and that will be the set for the entity where the entity is a class. And for that one we are going to install entity framework core package. This will be installed in a couple of seconds. So as package has been installed, so let's add the reference for entity framework core. Now this is all set up, and next we are going to add support for save changes, right? And basically this is the extension of entity framework core's own save changes method, right? And it will take cancellation token to make sure we are supporting the cancellation of async tasks, and it should be default of cancellation token, and we are going to add the reference for tasks, right? So next class would be the next property would be the entity entry of the entity and this will be entry for the entity and we will say that where the entity is a class. We will see the purposes of all those properties in a bit detail once we have the base setup for our repository layer. So the last one will be the reload entities, and we make it async. This is to make sure we are able to reload the context, the DB context, anytime we want, right? And we'll also see what is the purpose of these reload entities and the specific use cases for that one. So the iBlog engine DB context has been set up successfully, and next let's see how we can extend this interface to create our own interface, and we can put the DB set against the entities there, right? Okay, let me add another interface here, and let's call it iBlog engine right. So let's differentiate this one from that one in a way that, let's say this is a repository context, right? And we are basically extending this interface from that one that we just have created, and in that we are going to have DB set for our post entity, right? And let's name this as posts, set, right? All right, and this post will going to come from the model entities model, right? And at the last we are going to have, in this interface we need to add DB set for the entity, and where the entity is a class. I know you might have confused about all of this boilerplate code, but we will go through all those one by one once we have all this repository set up properly, right? So we have now our repository context ready. Let's implement this one into our actual repository context. And that would, for that one, let's create let's create a proper class for that one, and let's say we add let's add a folder like contexts, and the idea here for this context folder is I'm planning to add support for multiple DBs, right? And initially we are going to use SQLite so that we can we can switch to any database whenever required, right? And we might have multiple contexts here as well, but let's see later on how it goes. But by default, let's create a class here for our DB context, and let me name it blog engine db context, and that will be a public class, and it will extend from iBlog engine repository context for sure, and this will ask for adding the reference for that interface. Right, and this will going to ask to add the all of the required methods, but let's see what that one, and let's also add the interface that we named previously, that was iBlog engine db context. Right, and next will be a constructor. Right, and that constructor will going to take db context options, and that definitely will be the name of the same class, and we will have those options here, and for the base we will pass those options to the base. Right. But basically we don't have have to do these options into any of those interface, because these are not concrete implementation or the abstract classes, so we can ignore that part for now. Right, and now we have those options mentioned here, and what it is saying that all right, so first thing will be the that dbset property. We need to add that one here, that we have defined in our interface. Like this, and it will ask for the reference. Right, and next thing is we need to for override, but before that we need to extend, because we are basically extending the entity framework core's own context, and we are exposing our own context. Right, and let's db context like this. Right, and for that one we need to add protected override void on model creating, that is a method from db context, right, that we will consume this method later on, but let's call the base one from here, from within inside this one, right. So the next method we will require that reload entities that we have implemented. We have defined our interface, so let's move that one into the bottom of this class implementation, right. And in this implementation we are going to entities we are basically getting all the entities that are in the change tracker on the moment of on the time when we call this function, and we are going to for every one of it and we are going to reload every entity individually. And that should be a sync, right. And let's say, oh yeah, we need to make this